Ladies and gentlemen, the wait is finally over. Finally, I am able to build my whole new bike. And if you guys knew the struggle I went through getting ready for this, in the past 3 hours, that's 3 hours that I put into gathering all of the little pieces so this thing can go together with the least amount of problems possible, you would feel sorry for me. But no further delay. We are going to build the bike. And we're going to start with the most logical things that make the most sense. But before we do that, I have a huge list of people that I have to thank for making this bike possible, and I'm going to thank all of them along the way. But first, we've got to give a shout out to Park Tool because we're going to be using Park Tools for this whole build. So let's get into it. All right, we are going to start with the Odyssey Mid bottom bracket in 22 millimeter. We opened it up so there's no turning back. In the packaging, we've got an Odyssey sticker. We've got a bottom bracket spacer. We've got some spacers for the spindle, but more importantly, we've got our bottom bracket. Our bottom bracket is, as I said, Odyssey 22 millimeter mid bottom bracket, but before we can put these in here, what we need to do is take our Park Tool Polylube 1000 and grease up the inside of the bottom bracket cups on both sides very well. And we'll say this at the very beginning of the build: you grease anywhere where there is metal on metal contact, especially areas where two different types of metal come into contact with each other. Funny how this grease almost matches the frame, and man does this frame look good. I haven't looked at it since I opened it, and oh my goodness. All right, greased up there. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna grease up one of our bearings because this is the one we're gonna start with. Make sure we grease it up real good here because we can clean it off if we need to. Grease that up, and then we're going to take our Park Tool HHP3. This is the bottom bracket press, and we're going to slide it onto this side. I have this adapter here that helps me line things up better, and we're going to put this into the back side, the side that we don't want to mess with that much. Hopefully I can get things together here. So put the other bearing on, and it's a little difficult to do with only two hands, but we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna grease the other bearing as well. Nice and greased up there. And now we're gonna grab our other adapter, slide it on, and then we're gonna grab the rest of the bottom bracket press, which is these pieces here and the end. And this thing, if you've never used one, I have reiterated countless times how much easier this thing makes installing a bottom bracket. I mean, you're gonna see here, this thing just presses the bearings into the frame, and we should probably give you a closer view, shouldn't we? Guys, I made my first mistake. This is not cool. I'll be back in 1 second. And I'm sure there's a million of you that were yelling at me through the screen just now about the bottom bracket spacer that I totally forgot to put in there, but it's in there now. We're gonna finish tightening the bottom bracket into the frame. Luckily, I don't have to worry about spacing as much because this is an Odyssey bottom bracket with a Sunday frame, so they are definitely made for each other, and I believe they are in. Now that we've got the bearings in, we can loosen the press off and move on to, I'm thinking, the brakes. I'm trying to think of the parts that other things are the most in the way of whenever we get them further along, and the brakes are definitely one that you want to do before your back wheel is in because it's just easier that way. So we'll see you at the brakes. Okay, we are ready to install the brakes, which I've just decided that I'm not going to go in depth about what each of these parts are or anything about them, and I'm gonna do that in a video bike check sometime this summer. I'm working on a lot of projects right now, but I will make a video bike check happen. And a tip here, while I'm screwing this brake arm in, make sure that you have your springs on the correct side before you do this with new brakes, because usually these bolts come with Loctite already on them, and you don't want to get that all the way in. You can see how much effort it's taking me to do it. You don't want to get that all the way in there and then have to take it out because you got it wrong. I made sure before I did this that I had it correct. And you can see that it's springing it outward so that when it's pulled, it springs back out. So I'm actually going to back that off a little bit. I don't know what the tension will need to be yet, but I don't want to get it fully set before we're ready for it. So next side here, screw this one in. I cannot tell you guys how excited I finally get to build my new bike. It's all coming together. The first time that I'll have a new whole bike, like 99% of a new bike. There are a couple tiny things that are getting carried over, but they are understandable things. So it's not completely new, but sentimental value is more important than having a completely new bike here for me. So we need to not tighten that all the way, because that would be tightening the spring the wrong direction. Okay, so the brakes are on. Next, what do we do next? I guess the front end side of things, or do we do the back end? I guess it doesn't really matter, so let's just jump to the opposite end of the bike and do the front end. And before I put the headset and fork and stuff in here, I figured that it would be easier to get the front wheel and everything together on the fork and then put it all in there and together, so that I don't have to mess around with everything spinning around on me. And before we put the tire on the rim, what we need to do is make our rim strip with this electrical tape. This is what I've always done, and it's always worked, and I've never really had issues. I just find the valve hole, get the end of the tape, and literally do exactly what it sounds like you would do if you're going to use electrical tape as your rim strip. The only thing that you think about with this is that the electrical tape will stretch. So I try and pull off a bunch of it first so that it can stretch back before I actually get it on there. And I realize that you can't see what I'm doing right now, so I'll just turn around and hope that you can see it. It's pretty straightforward. Folding meaning Kevlar bead versus a steel wire bead. There we go. We're trying to prevent giant mess ups in this bike build. It's probably going to be like 40 minutes long. Holy cow, I just learned about putting a tire on in 100% humidity. Now we've got the part tool pump, and we've got the fork. So let's pop this onto here. Now we've got the fork and the tire on there together. Make sure everything's good. Smooth enough to me. Now we need to go back up there and get the headset ready, as well as the stem. Alright, first things first here, we need to take some poly lube, put it into the headset bearing cups. Integrated headset bearing cups. I don't know what the technical term is, but you put them in here, or you put it in here. Not everybody does this. Might not be mandatory, but you know what? Metal on metal contact. Fork, we need to take off this cap, set it aside, put a bearing on there facing down. You do not need this piece right here if you have Odyssey R32 forks. This comes with your headset. It is a crown race. You only need this if your fork does not have one built in. Most forks these days do. I see a lot of pictures with people who do that on accident and don't know what's going on, so maybe that can help solve some problems. Next, top bearing, the adapter, whatever piece thingy is called. I'm not sure how many headset spacers I'm going to need, but I'm just going to try this one big one. Then we need our gyro plate, followed by our stem here. I'm going to try and open this up and do this without causing a disaster. Okay. I also just realized I put my wheel in there backwards, but luckily I didn't tighten anything down, so it's not a big deal. It looks like I might have to... Yep, I have to loosen... I need help. I have to loosen the bolts on the stem because they come pre-tightened. Just hold the fork up here. Yep. Where's my Allens? My beautiful assistant. I did not think about this part. These bolts do come pre-greased, but I am going to take them out and put some more on there. Okay. Let's check it. That's actually not terrible. Let's see if we can get threads. Nope. Okay, so not the big spacer. Combination of the... Uh-oh. I'm going to have to grab some different spacer options here.
Do you want to turn this around first?
Huh?
Do you want to turn this around first?
Nope.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? That is perfect, but we have more room to go. So, I'm going to grab another headset spacer here. What are you doing? Oh my god! Now we're going to not forget something. We're going to put the gyro on there, because we're going to need that. Okay, so front end, aside from bars, is good. I'm going to put the bars on once all of the back end is together so that I can have it on the ground and have the bars in front of me rather than... We'll see. We'll see. To the back end. And next up, we are going to do the seat post, and seat post clamp. First, we need our seat post clamp, and if you get a Sunday frame, it will be in this packaging with your warranty card, which you will want to keep a hold of. You don't want to lose your warranty card in case something does happen. Seat post clamp. This also has the gyro tabs in it, which I may pop forward and do quickly after this, just so we don't lose them. Seat post clamp, very, very simple. Very, very tight already. Gonna have to loosen that up to put that on. It actually wasn't tight. I just needed to pull it open. There we go. Break these off. I'm honestly not sure with this stealth seat post if I should have the threads in the front or the back. So we're gonna try the front for now. Jeez, that goes all the way as far as it can go, like that. Next, dude, this seat is such a perfect match for this color scheme. This is the only downfall, that the bolt sticks out through the bottom, but you know what? Way too high. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. Okay, so now I believe we're gonna move back to the front for the gyro tabs and maybe the bars. I decided we'll do them. Alright, just so that we can get this gyro not sitting on my frame anymore, we're going to toss the gyro tabs in there so it has something to sit on. Find the threads. I think I found them. Okay, now it's no longer sitting on the frame, and this stem looks so good with the black bolts on the silver stem. And we've got the bars. I am going to cut these bars because they come like 30 or 31 inches wide. And that is way overkill for me. That's that. Oh, it's starting to come together and look like a bike. I can already feel how good this thing's going to be. So I guess next, maybe we do the crank sprocket and then the back wheel. Moving back. And next comes the cranks. Ready for it. Starting with the spindle. We'll get that in there and get things situated so that I can figure out spacing, because I'm not sure how many spacers I'm gonna need. Luckily, I just found the mother load of spacers, so I have hopefully all of them that I need. I would think so, but We don't know for sure yet, so let's figure it out. Okay, so spindle in the non-drive side, so that would be on the left non-drive side spacer, followed by the drive side spacer that I'm going to use. Definitely not that one. Sprocket. I am so lucky that I had the spacer that goes in this thing already. Plastic side just to be gentle enough. That is in, and that's also going to give me a little bit of space. It is missing the frame. Ooh, I want some spacers in there for sure. This is the kind of thing that you want to make sure you get right. Oh, geez. Pulled the side I didn't want to off first. Both sides have to come off though, so whatever. Maybe not. This sprocket might not work with these cranks. The sprocket bolt does not line up with where it needs to. It does not line up with the sprocket. So I'm gonna have to figure out another solution, which I may have an idea for, and we'll try it right now. All right, folks, it's a new day. I have a new shirt on, and shout out to Alienation because they have had a huge part in bringing this bike build together. So many Alienation components going on this bike, but that's not where we're at right now. We are on the cranks. Last thing you saw was that I had an issue lining up my sprocket bolt hole on the cranks, and if you look close at this sprocket bolt hole, you'll see that it's got some shininess because I actually had to file it down for it to line up with the cranks. But everything is situated, we got it, and Ryan at RNC is looking into this issue because other people have had it, and hopefully moving forward, it's not going to be an issue with new sets of RNC cranks. So that being said, everything's good here, but just to be on the safe side, we're going to do a little bit more greasing on the spindle here, just because we can, and because me messing with it so much probably took some of it off. Grease is always important. So, greased up. Now let's throw our sprocket on. Luckily, I have all of the spacing and everything figured out. Grab our right crank arm, spin this to where it needs to be, and slide this sucker on here. So, we've got that on. Now we're ready to tighten our sprocket bolt up, and I actually got a different sprocket bolt from the hardware store because this sprocket is like unbelievably thick. It's kind of crazy. So I grabbed a different sprocket bolt that is longer. You probably won't have this issue if you have a non-guard sprocket or a thinner sprocket, but I just wanted to play it safe. Luckily, the local hardware store had button head bolts in the correct size, and they're chromed out so it matches the shininess of everything else. Sprocket bolt is tightened. Good to go there. Now we can take our left side crank, and I gotta line these suckers up. This is one advantage two-piece cranks have over three-piece, is that you don't have to line things up and make sure you have it right. And it looks like we need to take one of our crank bolts and pull some of the spindle through on this side. You always want to make sure when you're putting on cranks you have an even amount of spindle on both sides, and you want to make sure you have enough spindle on both sides, and that is that your spindle sticks 3/4 of the way at least through your crank arm. And we're golden. We're still doing double crank flips. Hopefully we can do triples. Ow, look how good that sprocket looks on there. I've got my spacing. Let's see. Spacing is even. I'm not putting my pedals on yet because putting my pedals on right now means that they're going to be in the way of everything moving forward. So I would say the next logical step could potentially be the back wheel. Very exciting, so let's grab it. Cue the time lapse of me getting this rim strip, tire, and tube onto the back wheel before we put it on. And 70 pounds, that is my go-to. at least the first time, and I kind of just want to spin this thing because it's the first time I have a tire on it, and I kind of just want to see how it feels. Oh my goodness. It's so smooth. Sounds like I could tighten the jam nut a little bit, which I will do before we move up to the back end and put this thing on. All right, moment of truth. First time putting the Alienation Venus onto a frame. Oh, it's the chain tensioner. There we go. Look at that. Boom, on. I would ideally like it somewhere around there. This just gets me stoked. Oh, look at the light shining off it. I cannot wait to see what this thing looks like in the sunlight. I'm gonna have to let someone else ride it so I can watch it being ridden. And I guess what makes sense now would be the chain, because the chain is one part I'm not super sure about. I'm hoping I don't have to break it or add any links, because as you'll see in a second, there's a story behind the chain. All right, so the story behind the chain, first of all, you can see that I have an Odyssey keychain here. And the story behind this is that there's actually a couple local people who had Odyssey keychains that were nice enough to, one, somebody gave me one, and the other guy I bought it off of for pretty cheap. So thank you, Aron, and thank you, Ryan Johnson. You're making this bike build happen, literally. I'm hoping I don't have to Frankenstein two of them together, but here's the moment of truth. Round the sprocket, round the driver, and oh my God, it's perfect. I have to go forward a little bit with my wheel, but I am totally okay with that for not having to break this chain. Oh, that's super good news. And if you guys don't know why I love the keychain so much, you're about to see. Also, I've got to give a massive shout out to Park Tool. Do I have it right? I do have it right. Park Tool has provided me with all of the proper tools for the job to make sure that I can build a bike the way that it should be built, build it properly, and show you guys these things. And here is the beauty of the Odyssey keychain while I get the correct size Allen wrench out. You might be wondering, if you've never seen one of these, why is he holding an Allen wrench set for his chain? That is because these chains go on and off using an Allen pin. Right here it is. It's an Allen pin. This is what screws into the chain with the plates and keeps it tight. And it's amazing. I love them. Let's test it. Yes, it's freaking perfect. It's sitting right in the center of the dropouts. Yes, thank you, Aron, and thank you, Ryan. Oh, I have a keychain. I didn't have to break it. Exactly what you hope for in these situations. So I guess now I can finalize my wheel placement with my chain tension. Cue the time lapse. This is something that's going to take me a second. Seems to be pretty close to proper tension. We hopefully, let's see. Hopefully we'll be able to double crank flip. I'll adjust accordingly. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a video more in depth, because I don't want to go like crazy in depth putting my whole brake setup together in this video, because it'd probably make it way too long. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to go back to the front. I'm going to get the gyro on, and then I'm going to do a separate video from the brake lever all the way back. We'll have a video installing my entire brake setup from start to finish in detail, and then we'll come back with the brakes all done, and then we'll finish out the bike. Sound good? You don't have a choice. We'll see in a sec. And you thought the brakes were going to be on, but I lied. I realized that in order to do all of this, I actually need to have my brake lever on, and to put my brake lever on, I need to put my grips on, and to put my grips on, I need to cut the bars, because they're 30 inches wide right now, and I don't ride 30-inch wide bars. So we've got the Park Tool SG6, which is the saw guide. I already made my mark, so I just need to figure out where this lines up with the saw guide at to get it set, and then we can do the cutting. So let's just bring this down here. Oh, that's very close. Right there. And now we can repeat on this side. I need a break. I'll come back when this side's cut. Moment of truth. How well did we do? Pretty freaking good, I would say. It is a 0.5 millimeter off from both sides being cut the exact same amount. So now it's finally time to put on the grips. And holy cow, I need this air. I need to get a new saw blade, we'll put it that way. I've cut about 4 sets of bars with that one saw blade. Air compressor is without a doubt the easiest way to put on grips. And I'm psyched because, see that? Yep. Next, we flash forward to when the brakes are done, finally. All right, folks, you can't see it right now, but the brakes are on, dialed in, and feeling amazing. They're seriously so good. I'm psyched. But now all that's left to do is put on the pegs, the pedals, and the bar ends, I believe. So we're gonna get to it with the pegs, and I should show right now, because I haven't showed you guys yet which pegs that I went with. I have the Grindworks Street Light pegs. They're 1.25 inch diameter with a 4.5 inch length, made in the USA. And those of you who want a funny can zoom in and read that. So we've got to loosen up the non-drive side here in order to do this. So hopefully it's not too tight. I guess I should probably have looked at how much axle I had free before I determined what I was going to do with this. I guess I'm just going to take the washer out. It looks about the size of the washer. Slide that on there and install the peg. It's crazy that this long journey of building this bike with so many awesome people who've helped out with this, Alienation being a huge part in this bike build, Brimstone Bicycles being a huge part in this bike build, then also Sunday in Full Factory being a huge part. It's just crazy, and I feel so honored and thankful and privileged to be in this position and supported by so many great people. This is my least favorite part of working on bikes, honestly. And now we move on to the pedals and the pegs in the front, or the peg in the front. Let's move to the front. And with Grindworks' pegs, they do a 3/8 and a 14 millimeter, so this is specific to the front. No messing around with adapters this time. Let's make sure we've got it right. Left side pegs. Jeez, what the heck is going on? Cone thingy is loose. That's why it was being such a problem. That one was my bad. Let's run with it and throw the pedals on. And the time has come. We are gonna finish off the bike build right now with the pedals. So let's grab the right pedal here. We're gonna put it in here. And when you have the bike upright, the right pedal always, or both pedals actually, tighten to the front of the bike. Rotate it towards the front of the bike to tighten it. These pedals are my favorite pedals ever. The platform is humongous. The concave to it is awesome. I love it. And I just realized I didn't put grease in these, but I don't want these to come loose either, so I don't know. We'll see. There it is. The bike is done. Now let's zoom out just a little bit. And I lied, it's not done. We forgot about the bar ends. And I think it's fitting that these are the last parts to go on the bike because this is the most sentimental. This is the only piece. Yeah, this is the only piece on this bike that is carried over from my previous bike. And these bar ends have followed me for a very long time, if you've watched my bike checks or heard me talk about these things, you know, but these were originally my buddy Dustin Smith's. He's the one who got me into BMX, and they were on his bike. Somehow I ended up with them, and now they're on my bike, so I feel like it's only fitting if I'm going to build a whole new bike that these bar ends are the ones that stay on it. So there we go. And they're shiny raw metal, so that works, I guess, too. Grab the other one, throw it on, and this bike will be completely done for the most part. I'm sure I'll find something else. Tighten this bar end up here. And now we can zoom out and give you guys the whole picture of the brand new bike. And here it is, my brand new bike. It is completely done, and I am so happy with it. First of all, let's check all the boxes. How are the brakes? Awesome. They're great. How does crank flips work? Oh, brand new hub, and we're already throwing doubles pretty easily. When I first got the Revolution, it did not throw crank flips that easily. Everything is good. The color is great. Everything goes well. The polished theme with the black and everything goes together so well. And I have so many people to thank right now. Brimstone Bicycles, helping out with so much of this bike. Alienation BMX, helping out with so much of this bike. The front hub, the front rim, the back hub, the back rim, the stem, the seat. This is a sample seat for seats that are coming soon. All of these different parts. Then we've got Sunday, Full Factory, Odyssey, the people there, Philip Rinaldi, Nuno, the people who helped out with the frame and the shirts that I'm very excited. I've been holding off on wearing the shirts until I can ride the bike that came with the shirts. So genuinely excited. And then, of course, we've got to give, come on, the shout out to Park Tool for providing the proper tools to build a bike, a brand new bike, the way that it's supposed to be built. So I hope this conclusion, it's not exactly the conclusion, it's the big finale. Then next we've got kind of the like after finale when I ride it for the first time and see how it feels. I cannot wait for that, but I hope you guys have enjoyed following along with this series. I've also got to thank a couple more people too. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I cover everyone who I need to thank. RNC BMX, Ryan at RNC. He provided these cranks as a review set, but they are going on my brand new bike as a brand new set of cranks. Dustin Reese brought up this gyro last night so I could buy it from him. So awesome. I have so many good people who are willing to help me out and want to see me succeed, and you're included in that. So also, crap, there's another one. I'm looking around. The bars. Nowear BMX, Carl Hinckley. He provided the bars for the build. So many good people. So many good people. I'm looking around. Also, Matt at Kink sending brand new springs and caps for these brakes. At like, literally I didn't even have to ask him for it. He just offered to send them. So many good people, and I appreciate all of them so much. So thank you if you're watching this and you contributed to this bike build somehow. Thank you for watching this and following along with the series. And just in general, thank everyone who watches my videos and supports what I'm doing, because it's literally making my dreams come true. And this is my first ever completely brand new bike. I feel like I've rambled enough. You guys want to see me ride it, so maybe I'll make that the next video and interrupt the Florida series, because when this comes out, the Florida videos will probably be in the midway. So let's do that. We'll show you guys the first session on this bike if I get one in time. It's been really bad weather here in Ohio, so we'll see. But if it is next, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope this conclusion is a good enough one for you for the brand new bike